115. You write it underneath. Then you now do the subtraction. Our final answer becomes 0.695. Hello guys, this is Uncle DJ from Mathematical Series for Junior and Senior Secondary. Today, we are going to be learning how to convert fractions into decimals. If today is your first time on this channel, you're welcome. Remember in the last class, I gave you some couple of home tasks on how to multiply two decimal numbers. These are the answers to those home tasks. The answer to the first question is 0.025. The final answer to the second question is 0.13585. The final answer to the third question is 7.5 centimeter or 7.500. It's still the same thing as 7.5 centimeter. Now let's get back to the topic of today, how to convert fractions to decimals. Understanding of how to make fractions into decimal forms. We divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2 because it's a common factor. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 20 divided by 2 is 10. We have 7 all over 10, which is what we like. So is equals to, we just do it like before. We write 7. The decimal point that is behind 7, we move it by 1 step to the left because we are dividing by 10, and that 10 has just 1 0. 1 becomes 0.7 or 0.7 as our final answer. We have 16 divided by 23. How do we solve that? We use the long division method. We can see 16 and 23 have no factor in common. There's no way we can cut 16 down into anything smaller. We can't. So what do? Let's try to use our long division to get the result we want. This is the numerator, this is the denominator. So the numerator, you write it inside. The denominator, you write it outside. You write the division sign. This is the division sign. Now, let's follow this closely. We ask ourselves, 23. How many 23 can you find in 1? It's not possible. So what do? We pair the two numbers together. How many 23 can we find in 16? It is none. We can't find any. So what do we first do? We first write 0. We write 0 there. On top of 6, you write 0. Then you now say 23 times 0 is 0. You write the 0 here. Then you now say 16 minus 0 gives us what? 16. You write it down here. Then the next step is to put a dot or a decimal point after that 0 at the top here. After putting that decimal point, you add 0 to this number here. After putting this decimal point, you now add 0 to the remainder, which is 100. It becomes 160. You now ask yourself that question. How many 23 can you find in 160? You do your multiplication table. 23 times 6 is 138. You can see it's still very small to 160. 23 times 7 is 161. Wow, which is more than 160. So what do? We move back 1 step, and we move that 1 step and realize that it is 6 times. We can find 23 6 times inside 160. So you write this 6. You write at the top here, 6. You now ask yourself, 23 times 6 is what? 138. Look at it here, 138. You write it underneath, 138. You now subtract this number from 160. What do we have? 10 minus 8. We borrow 1 from here, you put it here, it becomes 10. 10 minus 8 becomes 2. So this one remains 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. Because we have 22 as our remainder. So we add 0. We add 0 again. After adding 0, we now ask ourselves, how many 23 can you find in 220? You do your multiplication table again. You do your multiplication again. 23 times 6, 138. 23 times 7, 161. 23 times 9, 207. 207 is not yet up to 2220. So we try the next one. 23 times 10 is 230, which is more than this. So we use 9 because it is slightly under 220. You see, 207. So we use 9. So we write 9 here. How many 23 can you find in 220? 9. You write 9 here. 23 times 9 gives us 207. You now subtract. You borrow 1 from here. 0 minus 7 is not possible. You borrow 1 from here, becomes 10. 10 minus 7 gives us what? 3. Remaining 1 here. 1 minus 0, 1. So the remainder becomes 13. So you add another 0 here at the back. So you now ask yourself, how many 23 can you find in 130? You do your multiplication table again. 23 times 6 is what? 138. So it's more than 130. So you move back one step, which is 23 times 5. So 23 times 5 is what? 115, which is less than 130. So you have to select 5 as the number of times you can find 23 in 130 is 5. You write the 5 here. You write it on top. You now say 23 times 5 is 115. You write it underneath. Then you now do the subtraction. Our final answer becomes 0.695. So now that we've done some couple of examples, now try to do this 2 as your home task. The next lesson is how to use letters to solve algebraic equations.